Hello, dear friends. I hope that you are all enjoying this beautiful season. And for today, as we worship from our homes or our vacation homes or wherever we are on this day, as we are gathered in spirit but not in person, I want to share a very special story from a book that means a great deal to me. It's called Once Upon a Christmas, and it's by a writer named James Dillet Freeman. He was a favorite of my maternal grandmother. She loved his writing and his work that he did for Unity Church, and she gifted me this book of Christmas stories way back in 1979. So I've had it for a very long time. That was quite a while back. And this is one of the stories from that book. It's a story called, I'm not sure what it's called. Let's see, it's called, I didn't write the title down. It's a wonderful story. It's called A Gift from Rosa. And it imagines a story that goes back to a time when Christmas celebrations were quite new. So I hope that you will enjoy this wonderful story by James Dillet Freeman. St. Francis was a great storyteller who loved all living things. He built the first creche, the stable scene of the birth of Jesus, back in the 13th century, and everyone came to look at it. And that gave Francis a chance to tell a story, the story of Christmas. Now, I don't know for certain if he'd have told it just this way, but here's how I think he'd have told it. Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Rosa. She was very poor, so poor that she didn't have enough to eat and had to go to bed hungry. Rosa had a naturally sunny disposition, and hard as it may be for more fortunate persons like ourselves to understand, most of the time, Rosa was happy. When she went down the street, she usually skipped. And when she was alone, she usually sang. She had only one small possession. It was a small bird, hardly larger than a sparrow and just as indistinguished. One day, as Rosa had been skipping and singing along, she found it lying in the street, and she could see at a glance it was hurt and couldn't fly, so she picked it up. "Hello, little bird," she said, and sang a few notes by way of greeting. The little bird did not sing back. It looked at her with piteous and frightened eyes and huddled in the hollow of her hands as if it wished to hide. She could feel the fluttering of its heart. Rosa had never felt anything so soft and warm and small and helpless. All her life, she had felt many needs, but she'd never before felt anything that needed her. This bird, she instantly knew, needed her. If she set it back down in the street, it would die. She carried it home with her. Rosa was used to making something out of nothing, so in a short time she had woven a little cage of twigs in which her bird could live, as snugly as if it were a golden canary in a gilded cage. The bird was not like a canary. Not only was it plain, but its song was no more than a croak. Rosa decided that whatever had affected its flight had also affected its voice. But Rosa did not care what the bird was. She loved it. That was enough. The few crumbs she had, she shared with the bird, and she gave it all her heart, and with it they both survived and grew. By the time fall came, the bird could fly again. It flew uncertainly at first, but as winter approached and the cold set in, Rosa felt the bird should fly south. One day she took it to the open window and held it up so that it could fly away. It was hard for Rosa to do it, but she loved the little bird so much that she thought more of its happiness than her own. "You're free, little bird," she whispered. "You're free, and winter is coming. Fly away to the south where it's warm, and the fields and woods are full of good things to eat." But the bird, to her surprise and intense delight, did not fly away to the south. It flew to her shoulder, gave a little chirp, and perched there quietly. Now, a very great event was being celebrated in Italy that winter. Remember, this was a long time ago, almost at the beginning of everything. It was the first year people ever celebrated Christmas. I don't mean the year that Jesus was born. That was much, much longer ago, but the birth of Jesus, when it happened, was hardly a celebration. Mary and Joseph, two weary travelers, came late one night to a little town named Bethlehem, where they couldn't even find a place to sleep. And so they had to find lodging in a stable. There, Jesus was born. A few shepherds came, some angels flew down singing, and later the three kings brought their gifts. After that, nobody even remembered Jesus' birthday for hundreds of years. But at last, hundreds of years after Jesus was born, the emperor of Rome became a Christian. And when he did, he decided one day there should be a special holiday to celebrate the birthday of Jesus. So he consulted the church fathers. They didn't know what day his actual birthday fell on, so they decided it should be what day? Right, the 25th day of December. Different people had different thoughts about ways to celebrate, but one thing everyone agreed: there's only one way to celebrate a birthday, and that is to give the one who has a birthday a gift. Throughout all the world, people began thinking about what gift they might give the holy infant. When the great day came, everyone poured out of their houses to go to church. You never saw such a merry crowd or such a quantity of lace and ribbon. Everyone who went to church wanted to look more magnificent than anyone else who was there. And everyone wanted everyone else to see how generously they gave. You never saw such gifts. It is impossible to list all the gold and silver and jewels and houses and lands and cattle and grain and paintings and statues and even churches. There had never been such an occasion in the history of gift giving as there was that first Christmas celebration. Everyone in the world must have put on their finest attire and gone to church to give their Christmas gift. Everyone except Rosa. She had been going to church every day for months. Every day, from the moment she heard there was to be a Christmas, she had prayed before the statue she loved the best. It was the statue of the Virgin Mary with baby Jesus in her arms. Rosa prayed that she might have a gift to give, for she had nothing, not a single coin, not a single thing that she could sell to gain a coin, not so much as a length of ribbon. Nothing. Every day for months on her way home from the church, she had looked around her eagerly, hoping for some miracle, like maybe finding a penny. But she found nothing. Then a month before Christmas, it snowed, and after that, since she had no shoes, she had to run to and from the church to keep her bare feet from freezing. She could not take time to loiter and look. Besides, the snow covered everything. So on Christmas Day, Rosa did not go to the church when all the others did. She sat alone and prayed, I hope, unless she had gotten too miserable to pray. I know she cried. The tears ran down her face in burning streams. She was so miserable she didn't even think to eat, which was just as well because I don't believe she had anything to eat. Perhaps this is why the bird began to chirp. He got hungry. It was a weak chirp, because that was all the sound he ever made, but it caused Rosa to look at him. If only you were a fat goose, she thought, or even a plump young pigeon, I could give you. But he was not. He was just a plain little bird, not much bigger than a sparrow. Still, he was something. In fact, he was all she had. Why should she not give him to the Christ child? But could she? The child she felt would accept him, but the priest she would would turn her away, turn her and her bird away. And the people would laugh to see her bringing a sparrow as a birthday gift to him who was the King of heaven. But perhaps if she waited till dark, Darkness comes early on Christmas Day. If she waited, she could steal into the church later, unseen, and leave her gift without anyone noticing why she was there or what she had brought. As night came, Rosa slipped out into the street, which was almost empty by then. Clutching the little cage of twigs tightly to her, she ran swiftly to the church, darted up the steps, and in a moment had slipped inside. It was dark inside, though here and there a candle burned, but Rosa knew the church by heart and quickly found her way through the shadowed emptiness to the statue of the Virgin with the baby Jesus in her arms. A few votive candles still burned before the statue. Rosa had never lit a candle since she had no money to give, but she had lit many candles in her mind. Rosa knelt before the Virgin statue and prayed. I don't know how long she prayed. Like everyone who prays a lot, Rosa, I'm sure, has found prayer has nothing to do with time. A great deal of time can pass and nothing important happens, and in no time at all a miracle can occur. And suddenly, something strange did begin to occur. Rosa didn't speak a word aloud, nor did she hear an actual voice, but suddenly a conversation began between Rosa and the Lord Jesus. "What are you doing here, Rosa?" said the Lord. Was it baby Jesus who spoke? I can't say, because the voice was not a voice that Rosa heard with her ears. I suppose I would have to say this conversation took place in the mind, like the candles she lit. But the voice was no less real because she heard it in her mind, since that's the only place you hear voices anyway. It startled Rosa. She looked about to see if someone was there that she hadn't seen. And then she heard herself saying, "I've come to bring you my gift on your birthday." "You're late," said the Lord. "The day is almost over, and I wondered if you were coming at all. I hoped you would." "Thank you, Lord," said Rosa. "I just thought I'd wait till all the people had gone home and the church was empty." "Don't you like my worshipers," said the Lord, "or do you think they might not like you?" Rosa said nothing. "What is it you have in your hands?" said the Lord softly. "My gift," said Rosa. "And what is that?" said the Lord. Rosa did not know what to say. She couldn't bring herself to tell the Lord that all she had for him on his birthday was a little sparrow in a cage of twigs. At last she said, "I have brought you all I have to give." This time, it was the Lord who for a long time had nothing to say. I imagine he was looking at the little girl very closely and taking everything in, the bare feet, the thin shift, the thin arms and legs, the pale face, the huge, hungry eyes. "All that you have to give. That is a very great gift," he said at last. "Not even the emperor has given me that. What is it that you are giving me?" Silently, Rosa held out the little cage of twigs. "When you give all you have to give," said the Lord, "you almost always find you have more to give than you dreamed. Let me see what you have." Shyly, Rosa opened the door of the cage and took out the little bird. He huddled for a moment in her hands, and as always, she could feel his heart beating wildly. Then, as if he too knew what to do, he flew up and hovered on whirring wings just above the face of the infant, and it seemed to Rosa that as he hovered there, he stretched forward and his beak touched the mouth of the infant as if in a kiss. Then he flew away into the darkness of the church. The girl gave a little cry of alarm to see the bird disappear. Then she heard the Lord again. "You are the gift love has given to life," he was saying. "Go, O love of life, and give to life what you have to give." And at that moment, out of the dark, came such a shower of notes as Rosa had never heard. The little bird had found its song. Rosa's bird that had had no song was suddenly singing, and it was singing as no bird before had ever sung, for Rosa's bird was the nightingale. If you have never stood alone in the dark and heard a nightingale's song, I doubt if I can tell you what it is like. Poets have tried, but oh, how imperfectly. It was not just a song. It was a flood, an exuberant excess joy. rejoicing in its joyousness, passion pouring forth in prodigal invention, life delighting in aliveness, giving without holding back. It was the song of one who gives all they have to give, only to find they have yet more and more. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, the singing stopped. Rosa stared up into the darkness. She sensed that her bird was gone. But the song was not gone. It sang on in her, and the nightingale has been singing on for us ever since. What's that you want to know? What happened to Rosa? After that, what could happen to her? I've heard she lived a long, full, happy life, but she'd already done that, hadn't she? Hadn't she? She'd given all she had to give and found that her gift was a nightingale's song that people have thrilled to hear ever since. What's that you say? Maybe it all happened in Rosa's imagination? Maybe it did. Can you think of any great and wonderful thing that didn't happen there? What's that? Nightingales don't sing in winter, they sing in spring, so they do. And aren't we lucky to have them then? But this nightingale, the first nightingale, Rosa's bird, sang that Christmas, the first Christmas people ever celebrated. Yes, that is where the nightingale learned to sing. Maybe it wasn't this way at all. Is that what you were thinking? Maybe Rosa's bird had always been able to sing, always been a nightingale, but he'd been hurt. Then there in the church, flying free in the dark, he began to sing again. Very well, if that's what you want to believe. Some people explain away every miracle. Yet I have heard that sometimes, if you go alone, as Rosa went, and as I too have gone, not on Christmas Eve when the church is full of people, but later, on Christmas night or any time when there's nobody there but you and God, I've heard that some, not all, but some, have sometimes heard such music as poured from Rosa's bird. Or do you think perhaps it was an angel I heard singing?